Okay, so get this. We're diving deep into the love dare today. You know, that 40-day challenge from the movie Fireproof. But here's the thing. We're not just talking about like rescuing relationships that are like on the brink.
Hmm.
We're going to explore how these dares can actually like level up already healthy relationships.
Hmm. That's what's so interesting here. It's like taking something that was designed for like extreme situations and then seeing how it applies to everyday life. We often think about like drastic measures when things are bad. But what if those same principles could actually help us like thrive even when things are good?
Yeah, exactly. It's like preventative care for your relationship.
Yeah.
So remind me, what is the basic premise of the love dare again?
Well, at its core, it's about taking action.
Hmm.
Each day has a dare, something specific you do to demonstrate love to your partner. It might be something small, like holding back a negative comment, or something more involved, like planning a special date.
Okay, so it's not just about fuzzy feelings. It's about actually putting love into action.
Exactly. And that's where it gets really fascinating because there's actually a lot of psychology and sociology backing up why this approach can be so effective, even in healthy relationships.
Ooh, I'm all ears. What kind of theories are we talking about?
Well, one that immediately comes to mind is attachment theory. It basically says that our early relationships shape how secure and connected we feel in relationships as adults. And the love dare encourages consistent acts of love, which can actually strengthen that sense of security, even if your relationship is already pretty solid.
Hmm. So it's like reinforcing that foundation of trust and closeness.
Yeah.
I could see how that would make a difference.
Yeah.
What else?
Then there's social exchange theory. It suggests that we're more likely to stay in relationships where the benefits outweigh the costs.
Okay, that sounds a little bit like a business deal. But I'm listening. How does the love dare tie into that?
Well, think about it. By intentionally doing kind things for giving, easily making your partner feel valued, they're tipping the scales towards those positive interactions. You're actually actively increasing the benefits of the relationship, making it more rewarding for both of you.
Hmm. It's like you're investing in the relationship's emotional bank account.
I hate that.
But we're not just robots calculating costs and benefits, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be more to it than that.
You're absolutely right. And that's where cognitive behavioral theory comes in. It highlights the connection between our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And the Love Dare challenges you to actually change your behavior, even if you don't always feel like it. And that can actually shift your thoughts and feelings over time.
So like if you act lovingly even when you're stressed or annoyed, you might actually start feeling more loving.
Exactly. It's kind of like faking it till you make it. But in a healthy way, you're creating a positive feedback loop. And then, of course, we can't forget about the 5 love languages.
Ah, yes. Words of affirmation, gifts, acts of service, quality time, physical touch. Everyone's got their favorites.
Right. And the Love Dare actually aligns with this idea beautifully. By trying out different dares, you're essentially experimenting with different love languages, figuring out what makes your partner feel most loved and appreciated.
So it's not just about being nice. It's about being thoughtful and understanding what actually speaks to your partner. I love that. But wait, isn't there a sociological side to this too, not just psychology?
Absolutely. One perspective that jumps out is symbolic interactionism. It emphasizes how we create meaning through our interactions with others.
Okay, help me connect the dots here. How does that relate to the love dare?
Well, think about the rituals and symbols we use to express love. Things like date nights, anniversary celebrations, even just saying, I love you before bed. The Love Dare encourages you to create more of these meaningful interactions, strengthening the positive symbolism of your relationship.
Hmm. It's like you're building a shared language of love, reinforcing those connections in a tangible way. It's really cool. Anything else from the sociology world?
Well, there's also role theory, which looks at how we take on different roles in relationships. Traditionally, those roles can be pretty rigid, right? Like the breadwinner, the homemaker, and so on.
Right, and that can lead to some imbalance and frustration.
Exactly. The Love Dare challenges those fixed roles, encouraging couples to share responsibilities and step outside of their comfort zones. That kind of flexibility can be incredibly helpful in maintaining a healthy relationship, especially as your lives evolve.
So it's not just about making your partner feel loved. It's about evolving together and adapting as a team. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we've got some pretty solid psychological and sociological theories supporting this idea of intentional love. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty. What do these dares actually look like in practice?
Well, as I mentioned, day one is all about refraining from negativity. Now, in a healthy relationship, this might not seem like a huge challenge, but think about those little digs or sarcastic comments we sometimes throw out without thinking.
Oh, I'm totally guilty of that
Yeah,
sometimes.
me too. But this dare forces you to be more mindful of your words and the impact they have. It's about creating a more positive and respectful atmosphere. even when you're not feeling your best.
Yeah, I could see how that would set a good tone for the rest of the challenge.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, day 2 is all about doing something unexpected for your partner, an act of kindness, just because it could be anything from making their favorite meal to leaving a sweet note in their lunchbox.
Ah, it's the thought that counts, right? It's about showing them you care in a way that feels personalized and genuine.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so powerful. These small gestures can really go a long way in reinforcing that sense of love and appreciation.
Okay, I'm liking this so far. But aren't some of the dares a bit more challenging?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where things get really interesting. For example, day 7 asks you to write down positive and negative things about your spouse on separate sheets of paper and then hide them.
Well, hold on. Why the secrecy? Wouldn't it be better to just talk about those things openly?
It might seem counterintuitive, but the point isn't to use this as ammo in an argument. It's about self-reflection.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. It's like taking inventory of your own perceptions, both the good and the bad.
Exactly. It forces you to confront both the things you adore about your partner and the things that might be causing friction. By keeping it private, you avoid defensiveness and allow yourself to be more honest.
That makes sense. It takes the pressure off and lets you process things on your own terms. Okay, what else is there?
Well, as the challenge progresses, the dares get more intense.
Yeah.
Day 35, for example, suggests finding a marriage mentor or considering counseling if needed.
Now that's a big step. But I can see how it could be incredibly helpful, even for couples who aren't in crisis.
Exactly. It's about proactively seeking support and guidance, recognizing that even healthy relationships can benefit from an outside perspective.
Yeah, it's like having a coach for your relationship, someone to help you navigate the inevitable challenges and stay on track.
Precisely. And then there's day 38. Consider what your spouse would want if it were possible. Then map out a plan for meeting some, if not all, of their desires.
Wow, that's a tall order. It requires you to really step outside of yourself and prioritize your partner's needs and dreams.
It does. It's about being intentional and putting in the effort to make your partner feel loved and cherished. But it doesn't have to be about grand gestures or expensive gifts.
All right, it's about those thoughtful little things that speak to their heart, like planning a special date night or taking on a chore they hate. The little things really do add up.
Absolutely. And that brings us to one of my favorite dares, day 39. Write a letter of commitment and resolve to your spouse. Leave it in a place where your mate will find it.
Oh, that's so romantic. It's like a modern-day love letter.
It is, and it's such a powerful way to express your love and devotion. It's about putting your feelings into words, which can be so much more meaningful than just saying, I love you.
I can imagine the look on their face when they find it. What a beautiful way to reaffirm your commitment.
Exactly. It's about creating a moment, a memory that they'll treasure.
Okay, I have to admit I'm starting to get a little inspired here.
I thought you might. But remember, it's not just about checking boxes on a list. It's about approaching each dare with a genuine desire to connect with your partner, to deepen your relationship, and to grow as individuals.
Right. It's about the journey, not just the destination. And that's a valuable lesson no matter what kind of relationship you're in.
Absolutely. Now, we've been talking a lot about romantic relationships, but the beauty of the love dare is that these principles can be applied to all sorts of connections.
Ooh, I love that. So how do we translate these dares for, say, friendships or family relationships?
Well, let's take that no negativity challenge. Imagine applying that to your interactions with your siblings or coworkers.
That would definitely be a challenge for some families, myself included. But I can see how it would create a more positive and respectful dynamic.
Exactly. And think about the unexpected act of kindness. Dare, you could surprise a friend with their favorite takeout after a tough day, or offer to babysit for a family member who's feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah. It's about showing up for people in ways that are meaningful to them, regardless of what kind of relationship you have.
Exactly. And even the finding a mentor challenge can be adapted to any area of life where you're seeking guidance and support. It could be in your career, a hobby, or even just someone further along on their personal growth journey.
That's such a great point. It broadens the scope of the love dare beyond just romantic partnerships. I'm really starting to see the potential here.
Me too. And don't forget about the power of listening. That's essential for any type of relationship. Whether you're talking to a friend, family member, or colleague, truly listening without interrupting or judging can make a world of difference.
Yeah, it shows that you value them and their perspective, which is so important for building trust and connection.
Exactly. And finally, that forgiveness dare. It's probably the most challenging of all, but also the most liberating.
Because holding on to resentment just ends up hurting us in the long run, right?
Exactly. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from those negative emotions so you can move forward and create space for healing and growth.
And that's relevant for any type of relationship. It's about letting go of those grudges and choosing to move forward with a clean slate.
Precisely. So the love dare isn't just some cheesy relationship gimmick. It's a framework for intentional love that can be applied across the board.
I'm totally on board with that. It's like a master class in how to be a better human in all your relationships.
I love that. And speaking of being better humans, the love dare also encourages a lot of self-reflection.
Oh, right. We touched on that earlier with the positive and negative list.
Yeah.
But is there more to it than that?
Definitely. It's about taking a deep dive into your own patterns, your own triggers, your own needs and expectations. Because if you're not aware of those things, it's hard to show up for your partner in a truly authentic and loving way.
That makes sense. It's like the old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. The love dare gives you the tools to fill your own cup so you can show up as the best version of yourself in your relationships. And it doesn't shy away from the tough stuff either. It acknowledges that relationships are hard work, that there will be times of conflict and disagreement.
Yes. It's not about pretending that everything is always perfect.
Right, exactly. It's about learning how to navigate those challenges in a healthy and productive way. And that's where communication, forgiveness, and a willingness to compromise come into play.
It's about meeting those inevitable bumps in the road with grace and understanding. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here, but I feel like there's still so much to unpack.
Me too. But I think we've given our listener a great foundation for understanding the principles of the love dare and how they can be applied to create stronger, healthier relationships.
Absolutely. And before we move on, I have a confession to make.
All ears.
Well, all this talk about the love dare has me thinking, maybe I should give it a try.
Yay.
I mean, who wouldn't want to level up their relationships?
I think that's a fantastic idea. And, you don't have to wait for a special occasion or relationship crisis to start putting these principles into practice.
That's true. Love is something we can cultivate every single day, no matter what.
Exactly. It's never too late to start.
I love that.
Act.
So maybe that's our takeaway message for our listener today. Love is a verb. It's a choice we make and action we take each and every day.
Beautifully said. And I'll add this, don't underestimate the power of small gestures.
Yeah.
Those little acts of kindness, those moments of connection can add up to create something truly extraordinary.
Well, on that inspiring note, I think it's time to take a little break. But before we go, I have one final question for our listener.
Oh, I love a good cliffhanger. What is it?
If you could choose one love dare to try out today, which one would it be? And who would you do it for? Think about it, and we'll be back soon to dive even deeper into the world of the love dare.
Welcome back. I'm so excited to actually unpack some of those specific love dares we mentioned earlier. You might be surprised by how thought-provoking they are, even if you've never considered yourself like a love dare kind of person.
I'm ready for the challenge. Let's hear those dares.
All right, let's revisit day one. We touched on it before, but it's worth emphasizing. Resolve to say nothing negative to your spouse or your partner, friend, whomever you're focusing on.
Okay, that one sounds deceptively simple. Is it really that hard to avoid negativity for a day?
It's harder than you might think, especially when you're stressed or things aren't going your way. This dare forces you to become aware of those subtle digs, complaints, or passive-aggressive comments that can actually chip away at a relationship over time.
Right, so it's about being mindful of your words and choosing kindness even when you're not feeling it.
Exactly. It's about shifting the energy of the relationship, creating a more positive and supportive atmosphere. Now, day two shifts gears a bit. It's all about unexpected acts of kindness.
Ooh, I like that. What are some examples of those unexpected acts?
It could be anything from making their favorite coffee in the morning to leaving a heartfelt note in their lunch bag. The key is that it's something thoughtful and out of the ordinary.
Yeah. It's about going the extra mile to show you care, even when there's no special occasion.
Precisely. It's these small gestures done consistently that can really strengthen the bond between two people. Now, here's one that always sparks debate. Day 7.
Oh, I remember this one. The positive and negative lists. That sounds pretty intense.
It can be. The dare is to write down positive and negative things about your partner on separate sheets of paper and then hide them.
I still don't quite get the hiding part. Why not just share the lists and have an open conversation?
Well, the purpose of this dare isn't to start an argument or point fingers. It's about self-awareness.
Ah, I see. It's like a personal inventory of your own perceptions,
Yeah.
both the good and the bad.
Exactly. It forces you to acknowledge both the things you admire about your partner and the things that might be causing friction. By keeping it private, you avoid defensiveness and allow yourself to be more honest with yourself.
It's about taking responsibility for your own thoughts and feelings before bringing them to the table. I can see how that would be valuable.
Yeah.
What are some of the other dares that stand out to you?
Well, as we move through the 40 days, the challenges definitely get more, well, daring. Day 35, for instance, encourages seeking outside support.
Do you mean like therapy or counseling?
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit extreme for a healthy relationship?
Not necessarily. It's about recognizing that even the strongest couples can benefit from having a mentor or a therapist to help them navigate challenges and gain new perspectives.
So it's not just about fixing problems. It's about proactively seeking growth and support, like having a coach for your relationship.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be formal therapy. It could be as simple as finding a trusted friend or family member who can offer guidance and encouragement. Now, this next one really pushes you to step outside yourself, day 38.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's all about putting your partner's needs first. The dare is to consider what your spouse would want if it were possible, then map out a plan for meeting some, if not all, of their desires.
Wow, that's a challenge. It requires you to really tune into your partner's deepest desires and dreams.
It does. It's about going beyond the surface level needs and really understanding what makes your partner tick, what brings them joy, what they long for.
It's about being thoughtful and intentional,
Hmm.
not just going through the motions.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be about grand gestures or expensive gifts. It's about finding ways to support your partner's passions, to help them achieve their goals, to make them feel truly seen and understood.
Okay, I'm starting to feel a bit overwhelmed by all these dares, but in a good way. It's making me realize how much potential there is for growth and connection in even the strongest relationships.
That's exactly the point. The love there isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about taking something good and making it even better.
So it's like taking your relationship to the next level.
Precisely. And this next one is a real heart melter. Day 39. Write a letter of commitment and resolve to your spouse. Leave it in a place where your mate will find it.
Oh, that's so sweet. It's like a modern-day love letter, a tangible expression of your devotion.
It is. And it's so much more powerful than just saying, I love you.
Yeah.
Putting your feelings into words, taking the time to express your commitment, can have a profound impact on a relationship.
Right. It's about creating a tangible reminder of your love,
Yeah.
something they can hold on to and cherish.
Exactly. And it's not just about the words themselves, it's about the effort and thoughtfulness behind them.
It's about making your partner feel special and appreciated.
Precisely. So as you can see, these love dares run the gamut from simple acts of kindness to more challenging acts of selflessness and vulnerability. But they all have one thing in common.
What's that?
They all require us to be intentional, to step outside of our comfort zones, and to make a conscious effort to love more deeply.
It's about shifting our mindset from what can I get to what can I give.
Exactly. And that's where the real magic happens.
I'm starting to get it.
Ah,
It's not just about following a set of rules. It's about cultivating a spirit of generosity and love in all aspects of our lives.
that's beautifully put. And it brings us to an important point. These love dares aren't just limited to romantic relationships. They can be applied to any type of relationship where you want to foster deeper connection and understanding.
Oh, I love that. We touched on this earlier, but let's dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
How can we translate these dares for, say, friendships or family relationships?
Well, imagine applying the no negativity dare to your interactions with your siblings or coworkers. It might sound challenging, but think about how much more positive and harmonious your interactions would be.
It would definitely raise the bar for communication. And the unexpected act of kindness, dare, that could be anything from surprising a friend with their favorite coffee to offering a listening ear when they're going through a tough time.
Exactly. It's about finding small, meaningful ways to show your loved ones that you care.
What about the finding a mentor challenge? That seems pretty specific to romantic relationships.
Not necessarily. It could apply to any area of life where you're seeking guidance and support. It could be in your career, a hobby, or even just someone who's further along on their personal growth journey.
It's about seeking out wisdom and support wherever you can find it. And of course, the listening dare is essential for any healthy relationship.
Hmm.
Truly, listening without judgment or interruption is one of the most powerful gifts we can give each other.
Absolutely. It shows respect, empathy, and a genuine desire to understand. And don't forget about the forgiveness dare. That one can be tough, but it's essential for letting go of resentment and creating space for healing and growth.
Yeah, that applies to any relationship where there's been hurt or conflict.
Yeah.
It's about choosing to move forward with grace and understanding, even when it's difficult.
Exactly. So as you can see, these love dares offer a powerful framework for cultivating love and connection in all areas of our lives.
It's like a roadmap for becoming more loving and intentional human beings.
Beautifully said. And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a question to ponder.
Ooh, I like where this is going. Hit us with that question.
Think back to all the love dares we've discussed. Which one resonates most with you right now? And who in your life could benefit from that extra dose of love and intention?
That's a great question to reflect on. And remember, it's not about being perfect or achieving some grand romantic ideal. It's about taking small, consistent steps to nurture the relationships that matter most to you.
Exactly. And those small steps can lead to big transformations, both in our own lives and in the lives of those around us.
So we've talked about those practical dares,
Mm-hmm.
and we talked about the psychology and sociology behind them. But, before we wrap up, I'm kind of curious about something.
Yeah. What's on your mind?
Well, we've been focusing so much on the actions, like the actual things you do in the love dare. But I'm wondering about the, underlying philosophy. Like, what's the big picture idea that's driving all of this?
That's a great question. You know, at its core, I think the love dare is really about transformation. It's not just about changing your behavior for 40 days. It's about changing your heart.
Yeah. So it goes deeper than just going through the motions. It's
Yes.
about actually becoming a more loving person.
Exactly. And that transformation happens through those daily acts of love, through the effort to prioritize your partner's needs, through forgiveness and grace.
It's like building a muscle, right? Like the more you practice love, the stronger it gets.
I love that analogy. It's about developing those love muscles, increasing your capacity for patience, kindness, and compassion.
And that kind of spills over into all areas of life, doesn't it? It's not just about one specific relationship. It's about how you interact with everyone around you.
Absolutely. It's about becoming a more loving human being, period.
So the Love Dare isn't just a relationship self-help book. It's like a guide to a more fulfilling and meaningful life in general.
Precisely. And that's what I find so inspiring about it. It's not just about fixing a broken relationship. It's about creating a more loving world, one small act at a time.
That's such a beautiful message. And it's empowering, too. It reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference just by choosing to love more intentionally.
Exactly. And that's a message that transcends any relationship status, background, or belief system.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. We've explored the Love Dare from all angles today. From those practical dares to the deeper psychological and sociological principles.
We've seen how those principles can be applied to all kinds of relationships, and we've challenged our listener to really reflect on their own capacity for love.
And most importantly, we've emphasized that love is a choice, an action, a verb. It's something we actively cultivate every single day.
And with that, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the Love Dare.
But before we go, I want to leave our listener with one final thought. What small act of love will you commit to today? And who will be the recipient of your kindness?
Remember, love is a ripple effect. It starts with one small act, one intentional choice, and spreads outward, touching countless lives along the way.
So go out there and make a splash, dear listener. Spread the love.
Until next time.